Plus, they say it's a woman's choice.
When I laid down on that table, I knew it was wrong. I knew that I was making the wrong decision.
But it comes with a painful price tag.
They put you in a room, in a recliner, and you sit there by yourself and you contemplate what you've done for the next hour and a half until they allow you to go home.
How some cope with abortion's emotional aftermath.
I lived 7 years just in total regret and shame and just in a deep pit of depression, because in my mind I thought there's no way God would accept me back after taking the life of my first child.
Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this edition of the 700 Club. Pro-choice advocates say abortion is a quick, easy fix for an unwanted pregnancy. But what they won't tell you is that this quick fix leaves millions of women suffering from guilt, depression, drug abuse, and even sexual dysfunction.
In America today, there are roughly 1,800 abortion clinics, but there are also 3,000 pro-life pregnancy centers. And as Charlene Israel reports, they're not just for pregnant women. These centers also provide support for women who have already had abortions.
For 44-year-old Max Baker, the pain after an abortion is not just a woman's issue.
The shame and the guilt, I guess the way that I dealt with that was just don't talk about it, just don't, we don't talk about it, we don't bring it up. It didn't happen, we just, but the shame was always there.
Max and his wife Judy have been married for 16 years, but before they tied the knot, Judy got pregnant. Not wanting to be parents yet, they agreed to end the pregnancy. That decision to have an abortion is one Judy will never forget.
When I laid down on that table, I knew it was wrong. I knew that I was making the wrong decision. It was horrendous pain. It was very painful. And then they put you in a room, in a recliner, and you sit there by yourself and you contemplate what you've done for the next hour and a half until they allow you to go home.
And when Judy wanted to talk about the abortion, Max just wanted to put the whole thing behind them.
I didn't want to talk. I still just, out of sight, out of mind, just, if we don't talk about it, then I don't have to deal with it.
Abortion is often trumpeted as a quick, guilt-free solution to a tough situation. But after more than 30 years of abortion on demand, the evidence is growing that for millions of people, abortion is a lingering, painful experience. It even has a name, post-abortion syndrome. The symptoms include depression, grief, sexual dysfunction, drug and alcohol abuse, and even attempted suicide. Sheila Harper is founder of SaveOne, a post-abortion counseling ministry.
So a lot of times, the pro-abortion side will say, oh, it's just the religious people, they're heaping all this guilt on these, men and women who have experienced abortion, but that's not true. The guilt comes just naturally.
SaveOne is just one of many pregnancy centers across the nation offering post-abortion counseling. There, Harper has seen the aftermath of abortion firsthand with the men and women who come to her center for help. But more than anything else, she understands it because of her own abortion experience back in 1985.
I lived 7 years just in total regret and shame and just in a deep pit of depression. I never felt like I could go back to God because in my mind, I thought there's no way God would accept me back after taking the life of my first child.
Depression so dark that she borrowed a roommate's gun to take her own life.
I got the pistol that she kept in her nightstand drawer. I took it out of her drawer. I went and sat on the edge of the couch, and I leaned over and turned that gun around and put the barrel of that gun right between my eyes. And I was crying and trying to just come to the fact. Everything seemed so surreal. I just tried to accept the fact that this is about to be over. All of this pain, this rejection, this shame, this guilt, it's all about to be over.
Harper thanks God that she wasn't able to go through with the suicide. After attending a Bible study at a local church, she turned to God for healing and forgiveness. She says the concept for SaveOne was birthed out of her own post-abortion pain.
There's no set area that I can say this is the bulk of people who are coming to us, because it's anyone who has experienced abortion. And it's not the religious and it's not the non-believer. It's both.
SaveOne partners with pastors, churches, and other pregnancy centers to help those suffering the regret and shame of abortion. And the ministry offers a free 12-week class to help clients with issues like forgiveness and peace. Natalie Glavka is now the National Outreach Director for SaveOne. But before that, she was one who took the class. Natalie had had 3 abortions, the first one when she was only 16 years old.
One of the things that I look back when I was 16, I was taught that was the answer to my problem. If you are pregnant and you don't want that child, then you abort the child.
Natalie says she had no idea her heavy drinking and drug use were connected to her abortions.
I was an emotional wreck, but I was also the type, I never thought about my abortions. I wasn't one that thought about the date. I wasn't one that often, had nightmares. I was strong and I was independent and I was successful and now I have my own house. No one could tell me anything I had done in my past was not good for me.
But after years of denial, Natalie cried out for help. She agreed to attend a class offered by Sheila Harper. For Donna Taylor, the guilt of having an abortion was even greater. Donna was a Christian, and she'd been taught abortion was the taking of a life.
It played out mostly because I was sitting in churches where they had huge Sanctity of Human Life Sundays. They had huge services where women would stand up and confess their abortions and talk about their healing. And I would sit there holding on to it so tight. I was hurting and I'd go home and grieve over what I had done, but without the ability to find any place of release. I just was held captive to it.
But Donna credits SaveOne for helping her to be one saved.
I know the power of Jesus Christ to say, you know what, that is under the blood. I died for that. You are free. And I know that.
Meanwhile, Max and Judy Baker, now born-again Christians, say while their abortion experience nearly destroyed their marriage, God's forgiveness is greater. Forgiveness for themselves and for one another.
We got married 3 months after this abortion, and we fought from that point forward. And our relationship was just festered into one big boil. And, the Lord just has healed all of that.
Many states are now considering laws to ban abortion on demand. But counselors say no matter what the law, they will be there to offer hope and healing to those suffering in silence. Charlene Israel, CBN News.